All right, ready to dive into a story that's got it all. Power struggles, cryptic dreams, and some seriously intense symbolism.
Woo! I'm intrigued already. What's on the table for today's deep dive?
We're cracking open the book of Genesis, heading back to the source, specifically chapter 40.
Genesis. Okay, I'm there.
It's a story that might seem, ancient on the surface, but trust me, it's got a lot to say about justice, memory, the kind of stuff we still deal with today.
I'm all ears. Lay it on me.
Okay, so picture this. We're in Pharaoh's palace, right? And two of his most trusted officials, I'm talking like inner circle here, the cupbearer, the guy who handles all of Pharaoh's drinks, and the baker. Well,
The baker. Yeah, I get the picture. Important, guys.
essential, right?
Yeah.
But they messed up. Big time.
Uh-oh.
And the text doesn't really spell it out, how they angered Pharaoh, but it's bad, like prison bad.
Okay, yeah, that's got to be some serious drama. Being in charge of anything for the pharaoh. Talk about pressure. I bet those palace walls saw some stuff.
Oh, I bet. And get this, just to make things even more interesting, guess who they find themselves locked up with?
Hold on, let me guess. Joseph.
Bingo. Talk about a rough streak. Betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, and now stuck in prison with these disgraced officials. You almost wonder if he, accidentally chipped Pharaoh's favorite goblet or something.
Right. I mean, talk about bad timing. It really highlights how, even the top guys, they were always at the mercy of Pharaoh's whims. One minute you're in charge of the royal wine list, the next you're, sharing a cell with Joseph.
Exactly. It really sets the stage.
Oh, it does. And speaking of Joseph, he must have been quite the figure, even in prison. If these officials felt comfortable enough to, confide in him.
He definitely had a way about him, that's for sure. But get this, both the cupbearer and the baker, they start having these incredibly vivid dreams. And I'm not talking about your average, oh, I left the stove on kind of dreams.
I don't know.
These were the kind that would make you sit bolt upright in bed, sweating, wondering if, the universe was trying to send you a message.
Okay, yeah, those dreams. We've all been there.
Right. But in ancient Egypt, that's exactly what they believed,
Oh, yeah, I forgot for a second.
Dreams weren't just random firings of the brain. They were considered, powerful messages from the divine.
Whoa. So it's like a direct hotline to the gods, then.
Basically. Which, I don't know, kind of terrifying when you think about it.
Hmm?
What if you got a bad review on your latest offering to the gods? Nightmares for weeks.
Oh, man. I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of that. No, thank you.
Right, but I can only imagine how freaked out the cupbearer and the baker must have felt. Not understanding what their dreams meant, especially stuck in prison.
And with, let's be honest, limited options for getting a dream interpretation in there.
Right, and it's not like they could just Google it.
Not exactly. And, another thing that always gets me about this passage is that their prison, the text calls it a dungeon. But the original Hebrew paints a much more intense picture. We're talking about a pit, almost like a tomb.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that changes things a bit.
It does, doesn't it? It's a stark reminder of their potential fate. Not exactly a calming environment for deciphering cryptic messages from beyond,
No, not at all. So they're basically trapped in this nightmare, desperate for answers. And that's where Joseph enters the picture.
Yeah.
What did they have to lose by asking him?
Right. What do they got to lose at this point?
And this is where it gets really interesting, right? Because Joseph, even in his own situation, right, he doesn't just jump in claiming to have all the answers. He listens to their dreams and then says, don't interpretations belong to God? It's like he's acknowledging something bigger than himself, right?
Yeah.
Like a higher authority.
Yeah. It's a subtle but really important detail.
Yeah.
It would have been easy, I think, to use this opportunity to manipulate them, right? To offer them false hope, maybe try to get something out of it. Right. But by sort of deferring to this higher power, I don't know, it kind of elevates Joseph, at least in that moment.
It does.
He becomes this conduit to the divine, right? Someone who can shed light on the darkness they're experiencing.
Yeah, and let's be real for a second. In that moment, in that situation, who wouldn't want that direct line to some kind of divine insight? So the cupbearer, he goes first, and he describes this dream where he sees a vine, right?
Right.
3 branches. It blossoms, grapes grow. He squeezes them into Pharaoh's cup, the whole 9 yards. You can practically smell the vineyard.
And the detail about the grapevine, that's key here, because our source actually connects it to this whole theme of sanctification,
That's right.
which pops up, throughout the Bible.
Right.
So it suggests that there's something deeper going on here, a kind of spiritual layer to all of this.
Okay, so we've got hidden layers of meaning. We've got these desperate prisoners. I'm hooked. What does it all mean?
Well, Joseph, he doesn't even hesitate. He tells the cupbearer that those 3 branches, right, they represent 3 days.
Okay.
And within that time, he's going to be back to his old self, serving Pharaoh, like fully restored to his former glory. Talk about a good news, bad news situation in that prison cell.
Oh, absolutely. One guy's about to get a free pass. The other guy's probably sweating even more now.
Yeah.
The dramatic tension is really building here. But before we get to the baker's dream, you said something earlier about the grapevine, how it symbolizes sanctification. For those of us who might not be talking Bible dictionaries, what does that even mean? So it's kind of like becoming purer, being set apart.
Exactly. Like those grapes, being transformed into something like fit for a pharaoh.
Right. Fit for a king, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Although, I got to say, I doubt the baker was thinking about, like, theological nuances at that point. He was
Yeah.
probably a little preoccupied. So what was his dream? What did he see?
Well, his dream also involved the number 3, funnily enough, but not in a good way. Not in a good way at all. He dreamt of 3 baskets of white bread, like on his head.
Okay, first of all, 3 baskets of bread on your head. That's like a dream wardrobe malfunction waiting to happen.
Right.
But seriously, that's got to be a bad omen, right? Birds eating bread, it doesn't exactly scream good fortune.
No, not at all. And, Joseph confirms it. He says, again, it represents 3 days. It's leading up to Pharaoh's birthday.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, is right. But this time, instead of a celebration, it's going to be, well, the baker's execution.
Wow. That's heavy.
Yeah.
One guy's about to get his job back. The other's facing some pretty severe consequences.
Yeah.
It really puts things into perspective, doesn't it? I mean, talk about how quickly things could change.
It really does,
Yeah.
It's like 1 minute you're living the good life, the next.
Gone. And it's interesting, you brought up this concept of mishpat, right?
Yeah.
That Hebrew word for judgment. And it got me thinking, because it's not just about punishment, is it?
Right. It's bigger than that.
It's like restoring order, righting a wrong. Almost like there's a bigger picture, a cosmic balance that needs to be restored.
Exactly. It's not just like an eye for an eye. It's about setting things right in the grand scheme of things.
Right. And our source really emphasizes the imagery here. The detail about the baker's flesh being eaten by birds. I mean, that's intense.
Oh, it's brutal. But it would have been a powerful image for anyone hearing the story, It's a stark reminder of just how high the stakes were.
Absolutely. This is definitely not a story you forget easily. But here's the real kicker, right? Remember how the cupbearer, he's supposed to be restored in 3 days?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? It happens. Pharaoh's birthday arrives. The cupbearer is back to pouring wine, living the good life.
Back in action.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Except he completely forgets about Joseph.
Oh, no, you're kidding.
Nope. He just forgets him, leaves him there in prison.
Oh, man. That's rough. And it really brings us back to those themes we touched on earlier, doesn't it? Like justice, vindication.
Totally. The cupbearer, he's back in a position of influence, right? But he doesn't use it to help the person who gave him hope when he needed it most. I don't know, it makes you think, right?
It really does. It makes you wonder about human nature,
Totally. Like how easily gratitude can fade, especially when we're caught up in our own lives.
It's a tale as old as time, isn't it? And in Joseph's case, this act of forgetfulness, it has huge implications. I mean, it delays his own rise to power, his chance to escape the very situation that allowed him to help the cupbearer in the first place.
It's almost like tragically ironic when you think about it.
It really is.
But I guess that's part of what makes this story so fascinating, It's not just about interpreting dreams. It's about understanding human nature, how fickle memory can be, and ultimately how all of that ties into this idea of justice, of a bigger picture.
It really makes you wonder, if you were in Joseph's sandals, how would you feel? Would this experience, make your faith stronger, knowing that maybe there's a bigger plan at play? Or would you be questioning everything?
That's a deep dive for another day, my friend.
Seriously, we could go on and on about this.
Oh, we could unpack this for hours. But you're right. The questions it raises about human nature, about justice, about the power of memory, those are things we can all relate to no matter what we believe. So until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and who knows, maybe you'll bump into some answers of your own.